Good morning, traders. This is Barry Wilkie with StartupTrading.com. It is 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, January 21st. So, looking back at yesterday's action real quick, uh, just really, trying to find value and, just some lost distributions going through there. The NASDAQ was a lot spikier within kind of the same. Similar shape as the ES, but look at the void in ES. So basically back above 68, 64, uh, up to 6900 is a distribution, and then there's not another one till 6838 to 6822 for it. And then as we look at all the indexes, we had that holiday, and then we had that gap down even in that snub nose session, and just kind of drifted lower uh, from there. Really, not doing a whole lot. And yesterday, the put wall for the SPY was 680. That was really my marker that I was watching. We come up and we tag 685. And then as soon as we did, we come back down and tried to hold 683, which both of those were large gamma areas for yesterday, and just, you know, went right down through, didn't even pause at 680, went right down through it. So very weak market. And then if you look at the Nasdaq, 615 was the supposed to be the support level for yesterday. That was resistance. That was probably really your best tell at that morning high where support became resistance very clearly yesterday. So looking at where we are right now, right? So we are back to where we were on the charts, going back through basically uh, all of December is where we're re-auctioning at right now. So yesterday's point of control 68.29 quarter. We're trading 22 quarters. So see if we get above that or not at the initial balance. And then the last untested point of control that's fairly near where we're at is a 67.90. It wouldn't take too much to sniff that out on lower, but normally after we've had a large day down, you spend time maybe just a little bit lower than we were yesterday, but really you usually have a balanced day. Uh, if we have another trending day down, right, that means that we'll probably end up sweeping this liquidity that's under this 67.70 sometime this week. Before we get into some other technical analysis, let's bring up, since I'm such a moron, the thing. For some reason, I thought the State of the Union was going to be today. The State of the Union is not until February 24th. I always thought it was late January, but what do I say? They say the first thing that goes your memory or the mind or whatever. So as we look at it, President Trump should be speaking right now. It looks like maybe he just got on the mic because the futures are just popping right now, just jumping up and down, oscillating. Today is the VIX roll. And if we look at the rest of the pending news, there's really not a lot of scheduled news that you can hang your hat about. We got final GDP. Final GDP is not as big a deal as preliminary GDP. Preliminary numbers are always bigger than finals unless there's a big discrepancy in them. We're going to maybe hear from the Bank of Japan, but who really cares about the Bank of Japan unless you're floating money back and forth with the interest rate spreads, uh, and then really just not a. It's kind of a boring week. So as we look back at where we are, again, just sitting here, and again, if we stop here and don't take out these lows, and I think that'll be all the Dow theorists, right? Is it a higher low? Is it a lower low? Well, we made a lower high here on the NASDAQ, right? And we made a higher high here on the ES. So that was divergent in and of itself. And this was a sweep of a high where the NASDAQ would have had to got, considerably higher to do the same thing. So you got a little bit of divergence on the indexes. Where we're at from yesterday, we've got some poor structure that we can look at first off, right? The points of control are all very close to the settlements from yesterday. So you know, there's not a large discrepancy on that. It did move down to the bottom end of the auction. And then as we look, so above the overnight high for the NQ gets us up into that other auction that could lead us up, towards value area high and maybe a little bit above. But normally we would stay, uh, if you want to go with what is typical, just under this overnight high should be as high as we get really, and we should stay in this lower end of this auction today. That's what would be normal, but things are never normal. What we should expect is increased volatility the rest of this week. Uh, on the cash market, there's not a lot to hang your hat on as it's been for the last 5 6 weeks. But looking at the SPY again, 680 was that wall for yesterday. Now it's 663 for today. A lot of action at 663. We'd have to go down significantly to hit 663. You're talking about another 110 points lower on the ES from where we're currently at. You know, not to say that it's not impossible. It's not out of the realm of possibilities, but I think it's unlikely to happen, to be honest with you. 670 is, if you scroll down to the bottom of the sheet now where I sum up all these days, right? 670 is your floor. We're currently trading 677, so we got to get through the 675 for the bears to do that. So we could spend some time between 675, 677, 680. And remember, yesterday's high of the day was 685. So looking at it in that perspective, anything above there is just probably a little bit of a squeeze, and we'll see if it's a look above and go or a look above and fail. Looking at the Qs, 600 is your floor for the day and the week. We're currently trading 608 as I speak, so you would have another $8 to go down, or 320 NQ points would be where that is. So you would be, you know, around 24,000. 860 or 870, right around in there is where you would be if we got down there. And then and I'll update that on the grids when we're coming out. I could be, off by a little bit on that. But 608 gets you back up and towards you. You got a little bit more of positive gamma bearing, right? We're in negative gamma. If you look back at the SPY, right, it's deeply, there's a lot more orange, right, than blue. So you're in negative gamma for the ES and the SPY. And the same thing with the cash market, right? It's in negative gamma. But looking at the Qs, you're basically back up in neutral gamma above 608. So that would decrease volatility potentially, but because of the VIX roll today, I would not count on that, especially with the ES and severe negative gamma at this point in time. But uh, fair value to me, and it might be easier to watch on the Qs, would be 608 to 615 is where we would trade in that zone today. And then, you know, looking at the SPY in the same way for today. You can see there's not real fair value. There's just lumpy gamma spots, 675, 677, 680, 680, 685. Those are your lumpy spots, and we really shouldn't cross back over 685 if we're gonna, spend. Sometimes when we get these contract rollovers like we had today, really technically we rolled over a week ago, or the I should say the monthly expiration was Friday. All right. So sometimes you get a whole month of just similar action to where down. So I want to see what Jack's looking up for a retracement level where he thinks where his premium level is going to be. We might just float up to that and then get a little bit of a short if President Trump can't save us this morning on what we're looking at. So again, just sitting here, I want to watch the split in this auction. Things would be different. Remember, the money is, right, that we stay in the lower half of yesterday's value to a little bit below. That's the normal distribution after a day like yesterday. Uh, Something that would go against the apple cart would be not doing that, going up above. So let's play for normal money and then see where it goes. from there. But you would really need Superman up, staying between the +1 and the +2 standard deviation, I think, to break that and not take that play. You just remove it from your thoughts. You need the VIX coming down. So we'll see what Jack's looking at. Hopefully he's feeling better today, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.